The problem that I have had with organized religion is not that it isn't true and authentic and valuable. There is so much truth and value in every religious text, in all of the saints, holy people, prophets that are associated with religions. There's truth and beauty in all of these things, but they've also been distorted and manipulated, and that is always where I had a conflict, with. The biggest detriment that we have learned is to sacrifice ourselves when, in many cases, you are going against everything that is right and good. We have learned to tune it out. The way you get into detrimental programs, they're destructive for you, for your future, for your soul, for your psyche, as well as for society as a whole, is when you buy into these programs that aren't right for you. Like, I told this story about when I was 10 years old and I was in school and I had the vision about misinformation that was being taught in school, as well as hypocrisy in the church, and it was very disturbing. Now, my messages about what's right and wrong can often be very loud, maybe louder than others, or that's just how I perceived it, so I hear them. But there have been many times that the programming, I allowed it to take over my life too. That's why I make these videos. I can speak with authority. I've been through all of these things and I've made these mistakes, and I want to help people find that inner compass. When you look back over mistakes that you've made in relationships, any kind of relationship with other people, you always had this small, still voice. There's a book by an author called Echo Bodine. It's called A Still Small Voice. And that's what it's about, getting in touch with that intuitive voice inside that can make you aware of so many things. That's what they call like a psychic connection or an intuitive whatever. It's that small, still voice that everyone has, and your ability to hear it, and even more importantly, to trust it and act on it, is what gives you these skills. You have to be at a higher frequency, meaning you are in a love, light, harm none vibration in order to access that. When you sit in a lower frequency for a long enough period of time, that voice is going to be harder and harder to hear, and or it will be distorted, because that's a whole other thing that I don't want to get into right here. But what you're hearing is not the same small, still voice. What you're connecting with is another voice altogether. And people that are riding the frequency band in between can be hearing both, which can be very confusing. But this is what it is. This is how it goes down. I'll make other videos on it, but I'm trying to make a point here about how you can access this. And one of the most problematic programs is for someone to have loyalty to people, places, and things that can be really detrimental for their well-being and the well-being of society. For example, I will use World War II as an example. The people in Germany were loyal to their country, to their society, perhaps to their leaders. They'd been through a lot in World War I, yada, yada, yada. I don't know history that well. I'm just going to skim over this. Popped in my head as an example that everyone knows about. And so, people got swept along with probably agreeing with things that probably didn't feel right, that they didn't think were right. And, but because of their loyalty to their friends, their neighbors, their bosses, their country, they didn't say anything, and they didn't say anything, and they didn't say anything, and they got swept into a fucking nightmare, that I'm sure many wish that they had listened to that still voice inside of them that was like, this isn't right, or this isn't healthy, or this isn't going to be good for anyone, or whatever they were hearing. I'm sure many people heard that voice. And then it got to a point where, what do you do at that point, So there were some people who ended up in that mess, and that voice was so loud that they took action, put themselves directly in the line of fire to honor that voice that was screaming at them about the atrocities and how it wasn't right. And they actively tried to help and do something about it, and smuggle out children, and blah blah blah, different things like that. And then that's a big example of how it goes down. But in your daily life, if you look back at jobs, relationships, personal relationships, friends, whatever, different experiences, people, places, and things that you had that you knew were not right, and you wanted it to be right, or it was easier for it to be right, or whatever, you chose to ignore that voice. It wasn't convenient. You were afraid to listen to the voice. It involved loss of security, money, the support of everyone around you, popularity, whatever. So you chose to ignore it. And then when you come out the other side and that thing falls apart, you turn and you look back and you realize that voice was right the whole time. Trust your gut, trust your intuition, blah, blah, blah. That's the same thing. It never steers you wrong. But you always knew. If you look at it, you'll see that you did always know. You just chose to not know and ignore it. It's so important that you do this exercise, because only by really examining your life and all these things that have happened will you realize the power that you have, the voice that you have. It's key to taking your power back. It's key to finding out who's telling you the truth. It's key to seeing right through things so that you can navigate and not be hurt and disappointed and taken advantage of over and over and over. It's the only way, because the world is full of lying, selfish, cheating, using people that really want to cause you harm. Now, people are going to go, oh my God, don't say that. You're really negative. You can sit around with your head up your ass and say kumbaya if you want to. And you will continue to end up in the same situation, because you're still going to be surrounded by snakes, and they'll see you and they're going to swarm you, and you're going to go, oh, I just love everyone. I want the best for everything. And things will continue to happen to you. That's what sovereignty is. You can't hide in a kumbaya circle. If I were a snake, that's the first place I would go. Guess who's sitting in the front row of the church? The devil. That's why they say that. Sitting ducks. They're sitting ducks. Don't be fooled. And that doesn't mean, look, everyone knows the story of the Catholic Church and pedophilia. It doesn't mean that everyone in the Catholic Church is evil. Come on. It's not black and white. That polarity is what gets you in trouble. It's all good. No questions asked. No one's going to question the church. And meanwhile, they're committing atrocities. So then you find out some people in the church were committing atrocities. Okay, now everyone turns against the church. Pull your head out of your ass. That's what they want. They want everything to be polarized. Everything's good, bad, this, that. No. It's very individual. And it's not complicated. It's easier. They want you to, you're not smart enough. So we'll tell you what to think. And only when everything stacks up so massively, you can say, okay, it's that. And then never have to think about it again. Okay, good. I can go drink beer and watch, Netflix. I figured that out. I'm this party. I'm the Republican Party. I'm the Democratic Party. So now I'll vote for that person. You go think about it. I don't want to think about it. That is what got us into the shitstorm. That's what got us into the shitstorm. I picked my religion. I picked my party. I have my degree. I don't have to think again. And don't feel bad. I'm not bashing anyone. I'm not bashing our system. I'm not bashing you. I'm not bashing anyone. I'm bashing myself when I realized how I participated in this, mistakes that I made, and that I contributed toward the shitstorm that we're now in the middle of. And I care enough I could stay in my corner with all of my knowledge and say nothing, but I care. I care about society. I care about everyone around me. I want everyone else. You're gonna come to this realization sooner or later anyway, better when you're not laying on the ground bleeding. Some people get knocked down 1,000 times and they still don't see it, because only the brave can accept this and take the knowledge and actually do something with it. Because it means, as I've said in many other videos, that everything that you thought you knew to be true is a lie. And since you are a child, I'm going to put links to my truth series here. If this interests you at all, you should watch the truth series, because they're real short and easy videos, and it'll show you, it'll explain to you, it'll make you remember how you've been programmed with lies from the time you were born to think that's normal and accept it. And that's how you end up living in this world of lies, and you don't question it, because that's become the new norm, which is another thing. Whenever you hear these catchy little sing-songy phrases, that's a program. That's a program. It's like a jingle. They want to keep that going around and around and around in your head, just like a jingle. It hooks you, it markets you, it programs you, it makes you want that thing that the jingle is representing, you see? And that's what the new norm is, okay? So, I hope it helps. I hope that it gets someone out there too. I hope it inspires someone to pay attention to that small, still voice. It doesn't take a lot to break the programs. It just takes a desire to know the truth. And as you move through these times and you're learning more and more and you're peeling off layers of the onion, because it goes deeper than you could ever possibly imagine. You can have great success, you think you have it all figured out, and then you realize you're still a novice. People have been at this for like a lifetime, and sure, they may be way ahead of many people and they're an expert, but oh wow, I mean, there's just so far that you can go.